This is section 13.7, and this is our last example for Stokes' theorem. This is example 3. So we're going to use Stokes' theorem to evaluate this line integral. And we have the vector field f, and we have the curve of intersection between the plane and the cylinder. So let's go ahead and start with curl f, because we know we need that in our formula. So I'm going to pause and just set up the cross product. Okay, so here's our cross product setup, and when we do the cross product, we get 1, 0, and negative x. And so that's curl f. Okay, the other thing that we need is to take a look at our surface and determine the best formula to use. So our surface currently is x plus z equal to 5, and let's go ahead and change that into z equal to 5 minus x. So when we're calculating our double integral for Stokes' theorem, so here we have our line integral, and we're going to use Stokes' theorem to turn it into a double surface integral of curl f dotted with ds. And so what we need to do is figure out the best technique to solve using techniques from section 13.6. Remember that one of our techniques that we used for section 13.6 was to take our double surface integral and to evaluate it by changing it into a double integral over a region D of negative p times the partial of g with respect to x minus q times the partial of g with respect to y, and then plus r. And this is in terms of dA. So in this particular case, because our surface is a nice plane, we're going to want to use this formula because we could just treat the plane as the function of g of g of x and y. And so when we come up with our partial of z with respect to x, we get negative 1. And remember, that's going to be the same thing as the derivative of g with respect to x. And then the partial of z with respect to y is 0, and that is the partial of g with respect to y. And we can use those in our formula. In addition to that, what we have for curl f is we have our components p, q, and then r. So in other words, if we just take a look at basically this vector equation here, as well as all of this stuff right here, we have everything we need to substitute in to our equation for this double integral. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. So we have the double integral over d of negative p, and p is 1, times dg dx, which is negative 1, minus q is 0, and dg dy is also 0, and then plus r, and r is negative x. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify this. So we have the double integral over d of positive 1 minus x dA. All right, then our next step is to take a look at the region that we're talking about here. And if we think about this, this is the plane intersecting the cylinder. And so if we project this intersection down to the xy plane, we get a circle with a radius of 3. And this is going to be our region D. So the best way to analyze this double integral is to turn it into polars and go from 0 to 2 pi, and then 0 to 3. And then remember, we're going to do 1 minus r of cosine theta, but then we have to multiply the whole thing by r because we're converting to polars. So we're going to use 1 minus x, we're going to use r minus r squared times cosine theta. So I'm taking care of multiplying by r there. And then we have dr and then d theta. And then we can just work through our antiderivatives. So we have 1/2 r squared minus 1/3 r cubed cosine theta, and we're evaluating from r is 0 to r is 3, which equals 9/2 minus 9 times cosine theta d theta. So our antiderivative in terms of theta is 9/2 theta minus 9 sine theta, and we're evaluating from 0 to 2 pi. And sine of 2 pi and sine of 0 are 0. So what we get here is just 9 pi. Okay, that does it for section 13.7. We have one remaining section, which is section 13.8 and the divergence theorem.